Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Financial Armor Show. My name is Jose Rodriguez, your host for today, and I'm a financial advisor here at Cooper Financial. And I'm here with our host for the day, Tony Shore. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing great, Jose. Great to see you again, and great to have you on the show. I think it's great that you're on here. Brad is busy. He's a busy guy. He couldn't do the show, and he's got you taking over the reins for him. So, with the show today, I think that's great. You've got a great topic lined up for us. Great to be here. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we sure do. The topic for today, it's going to be something that I think, is not very talked about often when it comes to financial planning, and it's a very big part of what I call the financial puzzle, which is the biggest expenses that someone sees during their retirement that are not really foreseen. People usually think about their, paying the bills, paying their food, their mortgage, but this is outside of, your typical expenses that you think about. So, I was reading this article from AARP that talks about all the biggest expenses that people see during retirement, and one of the big three that I saw that came at me that I see on a daily basis that people don't really talk about is healthcare cost, long-term care cost, which is becoming bigger and bigger nowadays, and also future taxation, which is also a big topic. Have you ever heard of anybody talking about
Oh
these in the
yeah.
past?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, my mom and dad are both, in fact, just last weekend, I got my dad into assisted living. He'd been out on
Really?
the farm on his own. And my mom is in full-time care and has been for the last 3 years with her Parkinson's. And she
Mm,
needs the full care, everything in and out
I
of
see.
bed, bathroom, moving around, feeding. And so her cost right now is $11,000 a month for my mom,
Hmm.
right, in full nursing care facility. So long-term care you're right, that's pricey. And future taxation, I don't even like to think. I don't like to
Yeah.
think about that.
Right.
That's with our budget deficit that we've got going on in this country, and they've been kind of kicking that can down the road, and we've gotten used to these low rates. The
Oh
federal
yeah.
income tax rate anyway, at least, is historically low, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and really that what you're paying with your parents as far as long-term care costs is a little bit above what we found the average to be in our area.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I don't know exactly what it is in Minnesota, but here in Arizona, the average is about $9,000.
Yeah.
If you go over in Scottsdale, you can get up to at least $15,000. It
Yeah,
depends on where you go, and it depends on the facility, but the
it
average we've
does.
seen is around $9,000,
Wow.
right? And
Even
it
that's
definitely.
terrible. I mean, my mom's is higher because of all it just bumped up. She was at 6,000 like a year and a half
Mhm,
ago a month. So it
mhm,
went from 6,000 to 11,000 because now it's basically memory care and things like that. So
mhm.
yeah, it can get up easily here in Minnesota, get up to $12,000.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely can see that, and people starting to see that as far as not only just what it costs to be in a facility, even before you're in a facility. These long-term care policies are now changing, and the prices are starting to go up because there's less people paying into the system, uh, and more people needing the service, and people are starting to feel that pain, and it's starting to see more and more often every time I meet a new client, and usually it doesn't the conversation doesn't really come up unless you've personally gone through it, and some
Right.
people have not and they don't really think about it. You, for example, is someone that have gone through it, and you understand it, but sometimes
Yeah.
you
If you
need
have a
that.
loved one in long-term care, especially me, I'm an only child. So
Mm,
now my dad's in assisted living or just starting that. My mom's been in long-term care, and now my dad's been diagnosed with Parkinson's, which I know leads to this.
mhm,
So it's really not good.
right.
So it's foremost on my mind. But you're right. I don't think people realize the extent of healthcare costs and long-term care costs that they will likely incur in retirement. I think you're spot on for bringing that up. I mean, the retirement expenses that are lurking out there for us, that's what you're talking about today. A good place to start, long-term care and healthcare in general, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but most people think, I used to think this, that once I hit 65 and retire, my healthcare costs are going to go down. I'm not going to have many because Medicare is going to cover it.
Right. Right.
That's not
And
true, is it?
no, not not really. If anything, usually gets a little bit more and more expensive.
Yeah,
And studies show, especially on this article, it's referencing those studies that experts say it's going to go up in the next 5 to 10 years, and it's going to continue
sure.
to go up because there's going to be more and more people. We have this generation of, uh, this boomer generation, what you want to call it, that is retiring, and there's more people that need all these services and benefits,
Yep.
and there's less people in putting into
Paying into
the
Medicare and
yeah, exactly.
Medicaid and things like that. Yeah. Yeah.
which which is a good segue to the reason why future taxation is a big problem that a lot of people don't think about. uh Back in the day, let's say 10, 20 years ago, most advisors or planners would tell you, "I'll put everything on a tax deferred account, and you don't have to worry about taxes once you retire, because you're gonna, much more likely than not, you're gonna be in a lower tax bracket and pay less taxes when you do retire than
Right.
now." Well, uh, as we've seen, even some people by personal experience and also by just looking at where the economy is today, that's not necessarily the reality we live in today. And people are paying more taxes now, even though they uh, didn't think they would, right?
Yeah.
Because they have these RMDs and they have to deal with them, even though they might not need them, because that same generation that were, and 10, 20 years ago, we're told, oh, just put everything in tax deferred accounts. They are also getting what's more likely, very likely, they have a pension. So now they have this pension, and I've seen a lot of people just live off their pension and Social Security and be okay. And then they have these tax deferred accounts, 401ks, IRAs, and then they have to take these RMDs that they were unaware, or no one told them, whoever they were working with before. Oh, I have to take money out. I have to, even if I don't need it. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
And now,
government makes you start taking money out of those tax deferred accounts, and that's what you're referring to, right? So
right.
what does RMD stand for? I always say really massive donut, but it's not that. What is it again?
Yeah, an RMD is a required minimum distribution.
Yeah.
Currently, the law is that once you turn 73, you are required to start taking a certain percentage out of your qualified accounts, which are 403bs, 401ks, 457 IRA accounts.
Traditional IRAs.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes, and the reason that the IRS taxes you on the way out is because you didn't pay any taxes on the way in. They
Yeah.
have to get their cut eventually,
Yep.
right?
Yep, they do.
So so that's what the law is right now. And like there's this saying, I forget who said this, but tax law is written in pencil. The tax code is written in pencil,
It
right?
changes daily, right?
Right.
It seems
So
like that anyway. Yeah.
so today the age is 73, but that could change for the good or the bad. That depends on where we are as in the world and as an economy. They could lower it, they can increase it. I think that for now, from where we're hearing, is they are increasing it to 75 later down the line. But that could also change. Never know,
Yeah.
right?
That could definitely change. They could keep it at 73 or they could move it back to 70 if they need to get
Right,
that tax
exactly. Because they
money.
used to be at 70 and a half at one
Yeah.
point. And
Yeah,
and
that
that pr-
half. That
yep.
half always gets me. It's like half years. Nobody celebrates half year birthdays unless you're 5 years old. I hate
Well,
to
at
tell
that
it to
point,
the government.
you do, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess. But the reason, the overall consensus too, is that there is a reason why the government wants to start taxing, especially in the way out, or changing uh, the RMD age to even be lower in the future. there is a motivation by the government to do this because they are in a deficit problem. We have this huge deficit that it's been rolling down from generation to
It's
generation.
astronomical.
Yes, it's insane. And the biggest revenue generator of the United States government, believe it or not, is income taxes.
Yep.
It's about 60 to 70% of the United States revenue is income taxes. And and then after that, the rest of 40 to 30%, um, it's trade is in there and there's other things like that.
Yeah, for that
Um,
other 30%, usually they just every year they go to Brad Cooper and hit him up for the money, is that right?
right, right.
I'm kidding. I'm teasing
um,
Brad since he's not here.
but it wouldn't make sense to get that revenue from, let's say, doing some astronomical trade deal with a specific country,
Sure.
because it wouldn't have a good, a meaningful effect
Right.
on the deficit. So they go to the more efficient route, which is the income taxes route, and that they would that the way that they could change that, or benefit from that, is increasing the tax brackets, changing that around, even or even decreasing the RMD age back to 70 and a half. There's a multiple different ways that they could go about this.
Sure.
And
Sure, but those taxes, so what you're saying is, and what you see in the news and the experts saying this, economists, taxes really are going to go up in the future. We all believe that anyway, and it looks like they would have to at this point.
yes,
I can't see them going down. The only other option, you forgot about a third. You talked about taxation to raise income. They could cut spending.
yeah,
My
okay.
side hurts from the laughter.
Yeah,
In my lifetime, and I'm a much older person than you are, Jose. I've been around a long time. The government has never cut spending, right?
yeah.
Yeah, they
That
don't.
is,
They're not going to cut that kind of spending. You're right.
yes, yes. We still are in a growing population at this particular moment,
Right.
so that is a very unlikely
Yeah.
strategy
The
that they'll
federal
use.
government cutting major amounts out of federal programs or from their own spending is highly unlikely.
Very,
Yeah.
yes,
So it's taxation. So healthcare costs, long-term care costs, and taxation. Those have to be the biggest expenses right there. Those are probably
yes.
the two biggest expenses anyone's going to face in retirement. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I would say so, and I would say an honorable mention that some people think about, some people don't, is what the trend is of someone's lifestyle during retirement. Well, right after retirement, the day that
Sure.
you retire, usually people have those go-go years, right?
The
The
go-go
first,
years, right? The first
right?
few years are when you're going. You're buying
Yeah,
that new RV, you're gonna travel across the country, you're
right?
gonna take the grandkids to Disney World,
Yeah,
and you're gonna take the whole family to Disney World. Well, that's a lot of money right there, right?
right. And it's really funny because being in this industry and with the amount of people that I work with, I see the same trend happen very often. And that RV trend is very, very popular. People usually around, it depends on when you retire, but usually in the early years of retirement, that lasts around a couple of years, and then they realize, oh, it's a lot of work to keep up with this RV.
Yeah, it is,
um,
and they're really expensive now. I mean, wow, they're expensive. Holy
right.
cow.
So you have these go-go years, which you spend a little more because you're more active. But around 75, mid to late 70s, people start to slow down. They don't really want to go to Disney anymore. They don't really want to travel as much. They probably already sold their RV at this point because they realize, oh, I don't want to deal with it anymore. I don't want to deal with the pipe for the drainage and all of that anymore.
Sure, sure.
That's the reason why I wouldn't do it, because I don't want to deal
Right.
with that. But it's very interesting how this trend, even though everyone is just a little bit different, it is very the I see these trends come to life in my meetings that I see and the reviews that I have with
Mm.
clients. So planning for, okay, at the beginning of their retirement, I'm going to be spending a little more, and then after about 5 to 10 years, maybe 15 years, depends. I'm going to be spending a little bit less, and you can plan for that. And you can plan for all of these. You can plan for long-term care. You can plan for higher taxation, because you can protect yourself from these with the right planning by talking with a financial planner and sitting down with a financial planner and a CPA or a tax professional that can walk you through what it looks like to have a bulletproof plan to deal with these three big things like healthcare, long-term care costs, and future taxation.
Sure.
And
So what are but Jose, let's talk about that a little bit. So what are you saying the solution is to deal with it? Obviously, work with a financial professional, number one, someone like yourself, someone like the folks there at Cooper Financial. But really, the key is plan for it, have a plan in place to deal with those expenses, and that's what you do for your clients, right?
yeah, what we do, especially for healthcare, there's a lot of different pieces to just these three things, but
Sure.
uh, just going off the top, it's a healthcare. We work with Medicare specialists and
Yeah.
experts that help our clients uh, walk through having to pay for
Yeah.
healthcare, and that with Medicare, because that's some for a lot of people that's brand new to them
Yep.
because they didn't have to
Of
deal with
course.
it until now.
And it's gotten more and more complicated too with
Oh
the
man,
advantage plans and supplemental plans and Medicare, all the parts, it's alphabet soup, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah,
it's a lot, and that's why I acknowledge that I'm not an expert,
right,
but I know enough to be dangerous, right? But we do have access to bringing those experts to talk to our clients and put them at ease if they are concerned about that. And okay, how does this Medicare plan or this healthcare part of my retirement planning affect my investments, my lifestyle? How does it all connect? Right. That's
right.
what we do. Uh, and we put it all together where it makes sense for them. Right.
Sure.
And the next thing would be long term care. You might already have a long term care policy that is great and it's cheap. Then great, take it and run with it.
Yeah, right.
But a lot of people do not have that that option.
Or
They or
or it's outrageously expensive, right?
Right, you either don't have one or it's outrageously expensive. It has
Yeah,
gone up hundreds of dollars in the past couple of years just because again, there's less people putting into it and more people taking money out, right?
right.
And and there are options for you uh for
There are other
the
types of policies that now offer
yeah,
long-term care riders and policies, just a cash
yeah.
value life insurance policy. You can even can't you set up a cash value life insurance policy to actually, if you need it for long-term care, you can access the death benefit and the cash
Yeah.
value? Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the person, right? Because it's a cash value life insurance being a key component of it,
Yeah.
right? So it's depending on your health. Um, so that is a very good tool to use if you're still in your younger years and healthy, uh, to put money in there. Your money will still grow. Believe it or not. Let's say you don't use it for long term care. At worst case scenario, you have some money that grew, sometimes at a fixed rate, or sometimes it's connected to an index. It all depends, right?
Sure.
But let's say you don't use it, it's there for you,
Yeah.
right? Let's say you want to buy yourself another RV, and you say,
Yeah.
actually, I do
It's
want to
not
go
like
back.
the old long-term care policy where those big premiums go in and you're never gonna see it again unless you
Right,
need it for long-term care. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and so the worst case scenario is you don't need it, and there's that money if you want to get access to it, and the grow and the gains and all that. And let's say you don't pull money out, you still have that death benefit. It's just an added on, cherry on top.
Sure.
And if you best case scenario, you do use it and you were prepared, and then now you are using this tool how it was meant to be used for you and your particular plan.
Right.
But there are still other strategies that are for long-term care, designed for long-term care, that use different chassis. I call them chassis as a bucket, right? Because
Right.
you have the cash value life insurance. You could have a fixed index annuity as a chassis, as a bucket, where you still put the money in, right? And it has different underwriting. Your health is not as much of an issue anymore as far as if you qualify or not. But again, it's the same concept of worst case scenario. You don't need it. You still have that money in the growth. Best case scenario, you end up needing it and you use it. You were prepared.
Yeah.
And you have to rely on your assets. So that is how we, with our clients, we've leveraged our resources and our knowledge to prevent them to from dealing with these issues, as far as in a where it hurts their overall plan, because we
Yeah.
all build it in. We build it
Yeah.
into their plan for
Yeah,
sure.
that's huge, and I'm glad you make that part of your plan, and earlier you mentioned you work with Medicare specialists there at Cooper Financial, and they help your clients plan out their Medicare, so that's huge, having a plan for healthcare. Now, what about taxes? I mean, there we're gonna get into the weeds because there's so much, like you said, tax laws. It's funny, we say we have a do nothing Congress and government can't get anything done, which is largely true. But yet it seems like the IRS tax codes are constantly being added on to and changing every few
Right.
years at the very least. If not every year, there's some type of IRS tax code change. And so that's tough to keep up with. But I know you work with alongside CPAs and tax professionals to help your clients with tax plans as part of their overall retirement plan. Is that true? And their wealth management strategies?
Yeah, and a lot of times this is why what a lot of people really like about us is that if we're doing tax planning for folks with the help of a CPA, uh, the CPA will come in and sit in our recommendation appointments or reviews. So, and it's all, we're all talking to each other, right? It's not, I'm not telling them, hey, go away to talk to a tax advisor and let's see what he says. No, we bring them in. We have tax professionals that work with us, with our clients, and sit down with them and talks to them with us there. So we're all on the same page. But some strategies that we typically tend to see with our clients to minimize tax liability, except for, and also for future taxation, is things like Roth conversions, planning for them, because there is such thing as doing too much, converting too much into a Roth at one time. There is such thing as that, and with the help of a CPA, we can figure out what number that is, what number that is that makes sense to convert into a Roth for this particular year, for the next year, and the following year, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I think makes us different. It makes our CPAs that we work with different, because our CPAs are tax, along with just being, your regular tax preparer, right? They're also tax planners, which is very rare in the CPA space. They usually just order takers. They just do your
Right.
taxes for the day, for the year, right? And then, okay, hopefully we'll see you next year.
Yeah, they're
We
just
don't ca-
looking backwards too at the last year, not
right,
ahead, right?
right. Even though they might agree with, what the message, or what we're seeing, that future taxation is coming,
Yeah.
and they just, because, I doesn't matter right now, that's for later. What matters to me as a CPA, transactional CPA, I'll just do your taxes right now, and then we'll deal with that later on.
Hmm. So, okay, so healthcare and taxes, the two biggies, and then basically what you were talking about is the term I've heard is lifestyle creep. So, as we work and we earn more, we spend more, and
Yeah.
then we're usually at our peak earning years when we retire, and so we're at this, our lifestyle has expanded. That's why they call it lifestyle creep. It's slowly
Yeah.
expanded. And so we're spending more. And then those first few years in retirement, the expenses like travel, grandkids, maybe a different home or moving, those are all expenses that you're going to have. And so, how do you help your clients deal with that?
Yeah, and that's expected too. Everyone usually wants to do the most in the first couple of years just because they've never had it,
Well,
right?
and you're still healthy, right? In your
Right, still
go-go years.
healthy.
Well, you still can. Yep.
Right. And the way that we deal with that with our clients is we in the beginning of the conversation that we typically have with our, especially with our new clients, is okay, what is your perfect picture perfect retirement look like? And they usually just tell me things, all those things, the hobbies they want to start, right? Or the
Sure.
traveling they want to do. And it could all be done if we plan for it and
Right.
at its due time. We can't just do everything at once, you, and we plan so the money that you have, your assets, allow you to have those experiences, allow you to buy
Sure.
those fun toys that you want, but all with the intention of, okay, if I can do this in this particular time, because if I don't, it might hurt my overall financial plan.
Right.
So we all want you to have the things that you want. That's the whole point,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the whole point of having money if you can't have fun, right?
Right.
So that
Right.
we all build it into the plan.
Yep. I think that's great. You have to have that spending plan and an overall retirement budget and plan in place. And I wouldn't want to do any of that on my own without working with a financial professional, trusted financial professionals. Really quick, before we go, we're out of time. Jose, let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah. You can get a hold of us by scheduling an appointment online, cooperfinancial.com, or just giving us a quick call at 888-390-5277.
All right. Great show today, Jose. Thanks for having me on the show. Listeners, that does it for today's episode of the Financial Armor Show with our host, Jose Rodriguez.